G'day, so quick tour of how we do an NC2 or reported findings visit. First thing we ask the client when they walk in the door, any questions that came up after their first visit. And then I ask if they're okay if I spend 2 minutes just doing a bit of a deep dive on ProHab and what it's all about. And I go through this model. So I'll sit there and say, look, if you're at the top of your game, if you're back to your best health-wise, what are you going to feel? I want the words that describe the feeling. And I'll pause until they come up with something that really resonates with what I think is their health goal. So common words that come up: energy. Other words that come up are strong, rested, calm. There may be 3, there may be 8 words. I want you to write them here for them, and then I say when they've completely emptied themselves of those words, that feeling, I say, look, in my world, if you're in my office, alive, breathing, you have the potential to get back to that. And there's probably 4 things that affect us all in our ability to be in that space. And the first is we can have physical trauma that the body hasn't fully healed from the past, which when combined with being in a sedentary work style, which most of us are in now, certainly affects our ability to be in that space. Nutritionally, what we put in the body affects that. Mentally, how we decide to do stress affects it. And then environments like London with loads of stimulation and no real connection to normal light-dark cycles, our recovery gets affected, so environment's a factor. And I talk about there being a 24-hour cycle of how your body manages energy, and it's never linear, there's always ups and downs, but overall, if over 24 hours that's inside your body's capacity to cope, you should expect that most of the time you can live and operate there. You can even have busy periods, but as long as we allow the body to recover from that, that's expected. In fact, that's the whole point of exercise. You stress the system and it responds. What happens though if that's how you're doing business all the time? Well, the body's smart. It goes into a coping mechanism for that, and essentially its physiology changes and leans down one end of a spectrum. So one end of the spectrum is fight or flight. Have you heard of that? Yep, it's that system the body uses when there's a saber-toothed tiger and your body needs to get away and do either fighting or flighting. And the chemistry of that is stress hormones, sugar, all the chemistry that does fighting or flighting. It's not about feeling, it's about doing in the moment. And the opposite of that is rest and recovery. And that's all about your body detoxifying, rebuilding, repairing. And that is the other end of that physiological spectrum. And typically, that's the system that's on at night, and typically that's the system that's on in the day. And as humans, you should experience both ends of that spectrum comfortably. Be able to get into rest and recovery, equally be able to do fight or flight in a short burst. Now, when this is happening, essentially we're spending more time down that end of the spectrum. If we get down here, it's not enough time or the quality is really low. So you get into an energetic overdraft. Like the body keeps going into resources and using resources that should be for short term, they're using them all the time. And it's a state of dis-ease. So there's unbalanced physiology. Now, the thing about this is you won't feel it. Because it's not about feeling, it's about doing. And this can be there for weeks, months, even years before you get a symptom. And your symptom is blah, but it could come out in a number of different ways. It could be back pain, neck pain, headaches, loss of mental clarity, digestive issues, low immune system, poor sleep. It comes out in a number of different ways. And our medical model we've got for this is to give it a label. You have X disease syndrome, blah, blah, blah. And for each one of those, they've created a pill. And if that doesn't work, there's a bloke with a needle that will inject it. And if that doesn't work, there's a guy with a knife who will cut it out. Which is great at stopping the symptoms becoming a proper disease and then your life being affected negatively or even shortened. But this system doesn't have much to do with getting you back to there. And that's what ProHab is interested in, is getting you back to there naturally. So helping your body do this from the inside out. So how we do that is by working with the nervous system, making sure that your brain can talk to your body and your body can talk to your brain. There's 4 billion messages that happen every second. So there's another 4 billion and another 4 billion. And you can feel and control 3% of that. So what we do with our hands is make assessments and changes and adjustments to the 97%. On the other side of the coin is movement. We have a model around movement which allows us to think of movement in skill sets. So squatting is a skill, running is a skill. Certain joints need to have full mobility for that, and you need to be able to control that movement. ProHab is really good at those first two circles there. And when you combine that nerve model with this movement model, this is why we get outstanding results. And then I ask Sophie, what do you need to know about me or the process in order to work with me on this? And I pause. And I want them to list what they want to know. They might say, how long does it take? Have I done it before? How successful is it going to be? You know, the list could be 18 things on, it could be 3. But I do not say anything until they've completely emptied themselves of the list. So I'll say, great, what else? What else? What else? And they say nothing. Then I go into the next piece. And the next piece is, look, I'm going to cover that in detail. Before that, there's definitely 3 things that we love in clients that we decide we're going to work with. The first is, this is definitely a partnership getting this done. We're going to have to work together. Unlike this model, you're going to do some of the healing, so I need you on board with this. Are you okay with that? I'll wait for the nod before I go into the second thing, which is essentially, if it's a partnership, I'm going to hold you to account because there's stuff I'm going to ask you to do. Specific stuff. I'll never stretch you beyond something that's too uncomfortable, too unrealistic, but I'll just make sure that you're doing the right thing for you at the right time to get to the right stage of healing. You okay with that? And then the third thing we're after is a mindset that's essentially willing to stretch. So yes, there'll be physical stretching, but I mean more, doesn't matter how old you are or how long the injury's been there, you're willing to stretch your body's ability to heal itself and get back to that. And it's going to require a stretch. And to be honest, only 5% of people make that stretch consistently long enough to get back there. If they nod for that, then I go, look, there's 3 things we're not after in clients we decide we're going to work with. And the first is any kind of victim mentality. Some people arrive with a story about the wrong genes, the wrong job, the wrong divorce, I'm living in the wrong city, the wrong time, wrong place, wrong accident, blah, blah, blah. We just ask that you leave that at the door. That doesn't appear in this room. The second thing we're after is anyone who's sort of an opportunist, someone who might be trying lots of different therapists, and if it doesn't work in 3 weeks, they're out of here. Our recommendations are for a full and complete solution. And if you decide it is for you, we ask that you stay the course. And the final thing we're not after is anyone who delays on the money side of things. We'll be really clear with our finance options, and we just ask that you make a decision and then you commit to that, and we'd have to chase you on the money side of things. So to answer these, and I go through each individual point, and sometimes it ties in nicely to, look, the time it takes, first of all, I want you out of pain as fast as we can. So the relief phase is weeks, literally 3 weeks, and I want you here twice a week for 3 weeks. So you're looking at 6 visits to get you out of pain. That opens the door for us to do the restoration phase. Now the restoration phase, I'll be realistic, requires months. And in your case, that's looking like 6 months with weekly visits for 12 weeks and then fortnightly visits for 12 weeks. So that's 18 visits. All in all, to get you out of pain and make sure you never have it again and get you back to feeling that more regularly, 24 visits over 7 months is what is required. Then I'll go and answer their specific options there, the questions and queries there. If we're all clear, I'll get a sense already if they're green on this, amber, or they're red. The next thing is, I'm going to adjust you. You're going to feel the hands-on work of me working with your nerves and getting some joints moving. Then I'm going to show you some exercises that I think you need to do in the first phase, just 2 to get started. And then I just ask you to let me know whether you're green, this is for you and you're up for it, or you're amber or red, you need to think about it, or you definitely know this is not for you, and we'll support you in whatever decision you make.